especially for somebody who's all pissy about the chapter.
Well, I think it's one thing when we talk about it as like everybody's doing now. And then when I go to actually do the homework, I'm like, these are just words.
Well, there.
And by the way, words make sense.
And by the way,
and how do I find?
Yeah. And by the way, I'm assuming. Yeah. So, and I am spoon feeding the information a little bit. There's no doubt about it. And so what happens is that when Mr. Ibarra talks about it and uses different words, that throws you off. When the book talks about it and uses different words, that throws you off. We're trying to expand on this, right? But you're off to a very good start, is my real point. All right. So I'm sharing my slideshow here. Oh, Miss Monreal, of course. What's the first question of the day?
It's not a question.
What is the first comment?
I was actually going to say that I tend to be a lot like Miss Petrie. Once I see something on paper, I'm like, get it out of my face. But I really appreciate that you come at it from different angles, and also that we have the difference for Mr. Ibarra and the book, because then when we're out in the real world, no matter who says it whichever way, we're going to be like, wait, I know that.
Yeah, and by the way, what I'm trying to do for you guys, that I'm praising myself right now, I totally admit, but I'm trying to package it up in ways that are very useful to massage therapists, physical therapists, things like that. You know, why movement specialists would care about the quads. So I'm trying to really package it up. Whereas the book is just kind of like, memorize this origin insertion. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about that so much. I care that you understand like what's heading to that insertion, what that means, what's the one that kind of defies that rule, and why is that important? How would that affect posture? Things that really you would care about as a massage therapist. So that you can walk out of here and be like, I don't know every last little thing, but I know the really big, interesting stuff that most people don't know that's really going to affect massage and physical therapy, movement therapy, about this muscle group and that muscle group and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I really appreciate how you walk us through it. You don't treat us like babies, but you do treat us like, come on, guys. Let me show you how this goes.
Actually, I hope, good. I hope I do treat you like babies. I try to do that on purpose, not because of your aptitude level, not because you guys aren't smart enough, but I actually thought it was one of the most effective ways to teach. I once took a dance class for kids as an adult, and it was the most fun I ever had because they were like, come on, everybody, take 2 steps. And it was like you couldn't fail. And I was like, that's the way you want to learn, right? You need to have it kind of fed to you like you're a baby. There's too much information and such. Okay, so.
Also, guys, I don't want you to be mad at Mr. Tapstop, but it was really weird to sit in the class. I almost felt like he was cheating on us. Like, you don't talk to everybody else all night. That's just for us. Just kidding.
Miss Monreal.
But it was weird. It was weird. It really was weird.
They meant nothing to me.
Okay, fine.
It was weird, wasn't it?
It was.
It's even weird for me. Yeah.
It's like worlds colliding, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, and what's weird too, weren't you hearing me say some of the stuff that I probably told you 4 months ago? And you're like, this is weird, and it was very strange.
Yeah, but it was really cool how you still, like, again, praising you as a teacher or instructor, you just took such great time with them. And it didn't matter where the conversation went, it was still like you were learning something.
Yeah,
so it was cool.
Good. Cool. Yeah, you got to hear some of my first things that I emphasized, huh, about like more or less pressure and all that kind of stuff. I wish you were at a later class where there's a little more of this stuff going on. Anyway, cool. Let's see. Let's go. Okay, so here are some general rules that your book has given you. I don't know if these are necessary to write down. I think they're necessary to understand. So, they're trying to explain to you the difference between origins and insertions. Can anybody here in their own words describe the difference between origins and insertions to me? In your own words. Yes, Miss Monreal. Sorry, you raised your hand first, that was all.
If someone else wants to answer, I'm okay with that.
Miss Petrie wants to answer. She's been really eager about this chapter, so.
Okay, and also I wanted to say, like, when you don't call on me, I don't care.
Uh-oh.
I'm a little ADD.
Oh, cool.
I'm paying attention. I hit the hands up button, but if you don't call on me, I'm never like, oh,
good.
phone.
Well, the problem is, like, you answer more than anybody, and I don't want to discourage you from answering, but I'm also like, oh, you know what I mean? So I'm always torn. So that's really nice to hear. Thank you. Yes, I love, though, that somebody's like, yeah, me! And you're right like 37% of the time, so it's kind of cool. So Miss Petrie, how would you explain origins and insertions?
She can answer. Montreal, you can answer.
She said she doesn't
No,
want
I
to.
don't want to. I want someone else to answer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, as Miss Yanes has explained to me, I think origins, if I remember right, origins is stationary and the insertion is what does the movement.
Yes. Yes. And which one is an attachment? That's a trick question.
That I don't know.
They both are.
Okay.
So they're just different words. So what do tendons do?
Uh-oh.
What do tendons do?
Well, they either do muscle to bone or bone to bone.
Please, hold on. I'm going to go to Miss Torres. So it's Miss Duyen. Miss Duyen, what do muscles do? What do tendons do?
I think connect in the muscle on the bone.
Thank you. Whew. Oh, God. That's okay. You were so good on the groups, too. So don't forget, by the way, you've got a bone over here and a bone over here. Tendons right here attach muscle to bone all day long, always. Both sides are attachment sites. Origins are attachment sites, insertions are attachment sites. Some idiot came along, I really don't like it. I don't even think they should do it. We could just call them all attachments. But some idiot came along and said, on the bicep, this is the insertion because the insertion tends to move closer to the origin and the origin tends to stay still. So they gave you a rule here and said origins are generally medial or proximal. They're generally in towards the core. Well, that makes sense because it's usually my limbs out here, they're moving towards my core. There are times that's not true though, and the origin insertion don't switch. So it's just kind of a stupid thing. Let me give you an example. If I was doing a pull-up, my arm here would stay stationary and I would come to it. Now we don't switch the terms. We'd still call this the insertion. But my point is it's not really true all the time. So lots of people, not everybody, lots of people talk origin insertions, but lots of people like me just talk attachments. Because the fact is, this is the same as this. It was the problem we had with pelvic tilt. People were like, flexion, anterior tilt, they're the same thing. They really are. It's just really hard to visualize because we don't think about them being the same thing, but they are. So the reason I said you don't have to write this down is I don't think this rule is very important. I never try to go around and figure out what an origin is or an insertion is. I just need to know the attachments and I know that this is going to get closer. And if this one's being held by gravity or something, this one's going to come over here. If this one's being held by gravity or another muscle, it's going to come over here. That's kinesiology. That's how it works. Okay. But some of these other rules I thought were really kind of cool because I've been saying them all along and I've actually haven't read this chapter. So they said muscles on the anterior side, right, generally flex. Generally flex, right? I said to be in front, you got to pull in front. There's only one exception to that. Which joint is there an exception to? That doesn't flex in front. I think Miss Petrie. Yeah, say it out loud, Miss Petrie.
The knee.
The knee. That's it. Everything else flexes in front. Everything else flexes in front. Flex my wrist, flex my fingers, flex my elbow, flex my shoulder, flex my neck, flex my torso, flex my leg. It's all flex, right? Until I get to my knee, the actual knee. That's it. Muscles on the posterior side, don't look at their rule. Muscles on the posterior side generally extend, except again for the knee. That's it. Don't look at their complicated rules because I think they make it harder, personally. Muscles in the middle. That's what medial side generally adduct. Why do muscles in the middle generally adduct? Anybody?
Is it because of the adductor muscles?
I feel like you answered my question with the answer. I mean the question. Muscles in the middle, though, why do they normally adduct? They are normally adductors, you're absolutely right. But why? Yes, Miss Monreal. Oh, yes, Miss Torres, go for it. Take it away, Torres. Miss Torres. No. All right. Sorry, Miss Torres. We lost you. Miss Monreal, want to pick up the ball?
Okay, well, you had your chance before. No, I don't know. I was just guessing because I don't. So the question was why are the muscles in the front mostly adduct?
Why are muscles on the medial side of things generally adduct?
Because they're bringing together?
Yes, because you can't pull to where you're not at. If I want to pull my arms back down to my side, I've got to have muscles towards the medial side to pull it here, right? Which means muscles on the lateral side generally do what?
Sorry,
Yeah, you're cutting it out, but we got you there at least, Ms. Torres, at least the medial part. But what do muscles on the outside of my body do?
Like
AB duct?
AB duct, just like my deltoids. Because to lift up my arm, I've got to pull from out here. To get it back down, I've got to pull from the inside, right? Same thing was true with my legs. So knowing that, Miss Yanez, knowing that, sorry, my gluteus minimus and medius are kind of found on the side of my body. So what's one of the actions they would do just since they're on the side of my body, without looking at the book? What's an action they would do? What?
AB duct?
Yeah, the AB duct, yeah. When you're sitting there all day, AB duct, when you're kicking out your leg to the side, that's gluteus medius and minimus. Don't get me wrong, the minimus can also help with flexion because it's in front too, but I'm just making the point that deltoids are on the outside, AB duct. Glutes are on the outside, medius and minimus, not the max. On the outside, my leg comes out to the side. Stuff in the middle, adductors like my inner thigh muscles pull stuff back in because you can't pull something to where you're not at. See where I'm standing right now? All right, I want to pull the skeleton to that area. Can I do it? Can I pull the skeleton over there? No, you cannot. I can pull it over here. You must be where you want something to be to pull it to you. If I want my legs to come back together, I've got to be between my legs, pull them back together. If I want to pull this skeleton's arm out, I've got to be on the outside of it. Right? If I want to pull it in front, I've got to be in front. So anterior muscles tend to flex you. Posterior muscles tend to extend you. Medial muscles tend to adduct you. Lateral muscles tend to abduct you. Yay. Diagonal muscles tend to rotate you or do two actions at once. Because they're diagonal. So they tend to pull you kind of in two directions at once. Not two different directions, but like diagonal means it's going to pull you over and down at the same time. All right. So then they have a rule here. They say prime movers, which are the muscles that are primarily causing the movement. We also call them agonists because they cause agony. So if my bicep right here is lifting this coffee mug, it's the prime mover. The antagonist is on the opposite side. It's the thing that could stop me from moving the coffee cup. Antagonists and agonists are usually on opposite sides. Well, that makes sense. My bicep is a prime mover or an agonist. My tricep is on the opposite side and moves the opposite direction, so it's the antagonist. And they can switch, by the way. Those are just terms we use for what's moving and what could stop you from moving. Why do we care about what's moving and what could stop you from moving as movement specialists? Because when somebody comes to me and says, I'm having a hard time doing this, I'm having a hard time doing a bicep curl, there's 17 answers to this, but the two simple answers are, it could be the biceps aren't working and that's why I'm having a hard time doing a bicep curl. What's the other answer besides my biceps aren't working? My triceps are working too hard. My triceps are actually stopping the movement. That happens. People have shortened triceps or something like that. I'm oversimplifying, but my point is, don't just think about the prime mover. Think about the antagonist. That could be stopping the movement. Or I could come to you and say, I'm having a hard time running. Right? I just feel like my stride's not good anymore. Well, you know to look at my hamstrings because they're the walker's muscle, which also makes them the runner's muscle, right? They help pull my legs through my hamstrings. They help me flex my knee while I extend my leg and run. But it could also be my hip flexors in front not letting me get my hip all the way forward so I can get a good swing back. That's why we care about opposites, right? Those aren't crazy ideas. And believe it or not, I've given you this example before, but it's a great one and it's a true one because I saw it happen. If I have a shortened iliopsoas, remember the iliopsoas runs from inside my back, down into my hips, down in between my legs. It causes me to do a flexion like this. But if it's short, okay, and I try to become a good volleyball jumper, I can't open up all the way. And I need to open up all the way to jump. Now, is the power for the jump coming from my iliopsoas? No, it's not. But I need to open up. Otherwise, my jump is like this. I want to jump. I want to come up. And so, if you don't know that, if you don't know what's stopping the movement, you'd be like, well, your quads and your glutes and your hamstrings, your calves are causing you to jump. I should work on those. You should. But maybe those are working just fine. Maybe it's the antagonist that's not working well, and I can't open up to jump. And the cool thing about that is if you fix the antagonist is the problem, I will instantly get height on my jump. I will instantly be able to run farther. I will instantly be stronger because I was being held back by something. The strength was there, but I was being held back. Yes, Miss Petrie?
So what would the antagonist be?
For your jump?
Yeah.
Well,
For that particular.
in that particular example, I was arguing that the
What
iliopsoas,
is the antagonist?
I was arguing the iliopsoas would not open up and that would antagonize the movement.
Okay.
Because I want to open up, I want to extend, believe it or not. A jump really is an extension. It's a flexion of certain things too, but just to give you an idea here, hold on. It really is an extension. This leg has to come back. This is an extension of my hip, right? And it's an extension of my knee, correct? I'm extending my knee, I'm extending my hip. I know it's hard to see, but my hip is actually flexed right now. I'm extending my knee and hip to get up. And I'm extending my back. I wish this camera was a little more friendly. But my back is over here. Everything is actually flexed right now. I've got a flexion of the knee, flexion of the hip, flexion of my back. I want to extend. So anything that's flexing me could be an antagonist. Anything that's flexion in the front of my body could be an antagonist. Not letting me extend. And I saw a therapist, Miss Petrie, at the Princess during break time do an iliopsoas stretch on another therapist off the table and they were able to jump higher. I mean, right there. I saw them get like that much in one stretch. Yeah, because they could open up more. And I was like, oh my God. And they didn't teach me this stuff in school either. I was like, it never occurred to me to work on antagonists. I didn't even know what an antagonist was at the time. It took me a month to figure out what they had done. Anyway, but I'm making sure that you guys know that now. So, don't always look at the prime mover. Quite often the bicep works, it's the tricep stopping it. Quite often the hamstrings work, it's the quad stopping them. Things like that. And you don't even have to figure it out, I just want you to be aware because it's another place to look. Because oftentimes in massage, you try this, they don't get any better. Now you got something else to try. Does that make sense? Otherwise you're just rubbing where it hurts, which you should do, but it's not very advanced. Okay. So, there's a rule here that says if a muscle crosses two joints, it acts on both. And that's true, essentially. Can somebody give me an example? I can think of 4 or 5 right now, of a muscle that crosses two joints. Yes, Ms. Torres, tell me a muscle that crosses two joints.
The rectus femoris.
The rectus femoris is an excellent example. Okay? So, rectus femoris goes across my knee and my hip. Yep, can I get back here? There, good. Rectus femoris goes across my knee and my hip, right? Cool. Miss Bilotic, what 2 actions does the rectus femoris create if it contracts? This is one, this is the other.
Flexion of the knee, and then extension of the hip.
Flexion of the knee, extension of the hip. Wouldn't that stretch it?
Yeah.
Alright, so take another stab at it. What's this?
Extension of the knee.
Good.
Extension of the knee.
Yep. And what's this?
Extension of the hip.
This?
No, flexion of the hip.
Flexion of the hip, extension of the knee. Okay. What that rule is saying is that in general, if the muscle contracts, it's going to try to do both these things. That and this at the same time. It will try. Because it's just going to try to bring these spots next to each other. It's one of the reasons, everybody, by the way, this is not so hard to do. I'm flexing my knee, but as I extend back, it gets harder and harder because it's getting tighter and tighter here. And if I get too far back, I can let my leg go and go further back because I've released this muscle more because it goes over 2 joints. But let me ask you this. So why doesn't it flex my hip and extend my knee every time it works? Because it doesn't always. It can do both, but sometimes it only does one. How does it? This is super important. This question is super, super important. It's okay to get it wrong, but it's super important we understand it before we move on. If this muscle creates one action, how come sometimes it only creates, if this muscle creates 2 actions, how come sometimes it only creates 1? How come sometimes it only flexes? Yes, Miss Petrie.
Well, I don't know if this is even an actual answer to that, but wouldn't it just be that something is stopping it from creating the other action?
Miss Petrie, that is the exact answer. And that is the exact basis of all kinesiology. My brain, without me having to worry about it, but my brain is fully conscious, and my brain literally does this when I'm doing leg extensions like these, it actually uses my glutes to keep my leg from flexing more here. It locks this down so that all this pulling from my rectus femoris and the other vastuses, but the rectus femoris goes just to extending. Yep.
Okay.
Or if I'm
So it
flexing it,
means
if
that-
I'm flexing at my hip, right?
Yes.
If I'm flexing at my hip, my hamstrings can keep me from extending my knee more. You're right, another muscle stops what they call the undesirable action.
And in this case, with the rectus femoris, would either be a glute muscle
Or a
or
hamstring, something
a
like that.
hamstring muscle.
We don't think about this, everybody. We've probably forgotten. But the biceps actually run across, biceps brachii, actually run across my shoulder. They actually aid in a shoulder flexion. If they tighten up, they actually pull, they want to do this. They actually want to flex my shoulder and my arm at the same time. If you pull on this, it actually wants to do both. But my body doesn't let it do that when I'm at the gym and I'm doing curls. It locks my shoulder down and back. My rear deltoid locks down. Do curls next time and feel your rear deltoid. It's holding your shoulder down so that you just flex here. Another muscle stops the undesirable action. We don't tell you this in the beginning because it's too much. We're just trying to get you to be like, bicep, flex his arm, right? But the reason you're able to do this is because my brain literally fires hundreds of muscles and says, stop that one from creating that action, let it only go this way. Hey, this is what's this movement in front of my body?
That would be a flexion.
Flexion of the shoulder, thank you. What's this movement?
That's going towards the midline, so, adduction.
Yeah,
Sorry.
horizontal adduction. So, this is my pectoralis major. This is my anterior deltoid. How can I go diagonal? Because my brain uses a little anterior deltoid and a little pec, and it pulls together and gets them to go diagonal. If it only wants them to go one direction, it only uses one of them. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but my point is, we don't just use one muscle. Your brain's like, oh my gosh. So let me give you an example. My brain is like, I want the skeleton here. Okay, I've got a muscle here. My brain's like, I want the skeleton here. Okay, I've got a muscle over here. Well, what happens if I want the skeleton there? Diagonal. Both muscles pull. And if you pull this way, but you're fighting with another guy pulling this way, it comes diagonal. So your brain, and I'm still oversimplifying, that's 100% true. But usually it's about 13 or 27 muscles, and your brain's like, stop this one from doing two movements, have it only do one by locking down this other antagonist on purpose. Have these two pull diagonally so it comes this way, that kind of stuff, right? We used to do this exercise in class where we put like a cup in the middle of class and we'd all tie strings to it and all the students would sit around class and try to move the cup around. And because that's how your body kind of moves you around. Does that make sense? Good. Cool. That's kinesiology. That's all of it. That's it. We can go home now. But that is actually, that's the whole basis of everything. So when we're looking at movements, we're kind of looking at like, what could be stopping this movement, not just what's creating it. And it's, by the way, even if you forgot all your muscles, if my arm's moving this way, stuff over here has to be pulling it this way. It's got to be over here. And what could be stopping it? Stuff back here. Even if you forgot the names, just rub in this general area. Like, that's just not a bad idea, right? The stuff behind it could be pulling it back. That's just, you know, cool. Good job. I felt very good about the nods, so thank you. I'm serious. We've already talked about how muscles are named. This is good. Okay. So, I'm really glad we're going to do this next section because we've done it before. This is why I didn't leave more time for all this stuff. Granted, I recognize that we could have left a month for this chapter. But, Ms. Torres, by the way, you still have your hand up. Do you need to say something? Have I been ignoring you?
Yes, but it's okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Go ahead. Did you want to say anything? No?
No.
Okay, cool.
You're a good teacher.
Thank you. You're very sweet. Okay. You guys are very good for my ego and my heart. Okay, we talked about scapular movements a long time ago. Part of this has been overwhelming because you're like, Tapscott, I forgot the humerus and I forgot this stuff, right? But what you're going to find out now, what's kind of cool about it is some of the stuff you understand better than you did before. So let's look at how the scapula moves, okay? And we're going to look at 5 muscles that you're very familiar with. All right? The trapezius, the levator scapula, the rhomboids, the serratus anterior, and the pectoralis minor. Yeah? So, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I don't know how it looks on your end, but I hope that it gives you a better view of the skeleton. That's why I'm doing it. Okay. So, really quick review here. Who can tell me, I don't even care if it's exactly right, just roughly right, where does the trapezius go? Like, what are its attachments? And I don't care if they're origins, I don't care if they're insertions, just like, where does the trapezius go here? Can somebody tell me that? I'd rather it not be in book language, like, it goes from the, just like where? Yes, Miss Monreal, hit me.
It goes from the base of the skull to a little lower than mid-back. Oh, I see, okay. Well, I was thinking lower fiber. So yeah, across the scapula to the, to the border.
So guys, by the way, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, Miss Moria. Technically, it goes from this external occipital protuberance, the lower nuchal line, and all this kind of stuff. But I love what Miss Monreal said. It goes from the back of the head, and technically it goes over to the front of the clavicle, and the acromion process, and the spine of the scapula. But listen to me for a second. Simply put, it goes from the back of the head to the scapula. We have one that goes from the scapula to the middle of the spine, same muscle, right? And from the scapula down lower on the spine, right? It hooks the scapula to the head, to the middle of the back, to the lower back, right? Now you can see the movements it does. From what I just did right there, what are the 3 movements this muscle does? Bilaterally, don't get all confused with singularly. Somebody tell me the 3. Actually, never mind. Let me call on somebody. Miss Harper, what are the 3 movements that muscle can do?
The movement.
Yeah, actions.
The traps. It's like my head is kind of like.
That's okay, my dear.
Okay.
If I were to pull on these, if I were to pull, what would happen to the scapula?
Yeah, it depress. No,
Really?
it elevate the scapula.
Yeah, and if I were to pull on these down here, what would happen?
Depress.
Yep, and if I were to pull on these in the middle, what would happen?
That's the retraction
Or,
of the scapula or adduction.
that was perfect. So, they can lift my scapula up, they can pull
Yeah.
it down,
Pull down.
they can retract it or adduct it. Beautifully said. Great. 3 actions of the scapula, right? The traps move the scapula. That's what you remember about this. Traps. And because it's such a diverse muscle, it can move pretty much anywhere it wants behind you. Right?
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've also got these little things called the rhomboids. Who can tell me where the rhomboids go? Really simply put, they go from where to where? Rhomboids, where do they go? Give me something new. Mr. Kandaris, talk to me about the rhomboids. Where do you find the rhomboids? Where do you find them, even? Front of the body, back of the body.
Well, find them on the back, but
Yes, good.
they're upper thoracic,
Good.
and they attach to the transverse processes. Is that right?
No, but you're still in the right area, and so I'm fine. I don't need and they hook to what bone?
The scapula.
Yeah. Everybody, they hook the medial border of the scapula to the spine. And you're right, sir. That's roughly what I was looking for. So that's good. They hook the medial border of the scapular spine. They go up a little bit. We can get super nitpicky with them. But let's not do that yet, right? So what action, Mr. Kadaris, do these create? Just a simple action. If I pull on the medial borders of the scapula, what's going to happen? And pull it closer to the spine. Miss Hanson's doing it for us.
I can't even see. I don't know. I'm like, I never really thought about, because we learned about them, and then after that, I kind of just didn't think about what the rhomboids did as an action.
Okay, well you don't have to think, but you know muscles only shorten or contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a muscle attaching the medial border of a scapula to your spine, and it shortens, what's going to happen to the scapula? How do you describe that movement?
It's going to, I don't know, I forget the term when it goes side to side.
Well, what's the term when things get closer to the midline?
Abduction.
What duction?
Adduction.
Adduction. They are going to adduct the scapula or retract it. Adduct the scapula, retract it. Good job. Thank you, sir. Okay. So what muscle kind of does the same, everybody, as the middle traps? Yes, Miss Nguyen. Miss Nguyen?
I think in the rhomboid minor and rhomboid minor.
Thank you, Miss Nguyen. Brilliant. They're in the same spot. They look almost the same. Don't get me wrong, we can get super nitpicky and be like, well, they slightly elevate. Yeah, I get that. But the fact is, rhomboids and middle traps are in the middle, and what do? They pull my scapula back. Yeah? Can we see that? Cool. So, do I think of them as the same darn muscle? Are they in the same area? Do I rub them both together? Yes. Can I even avoid rubbing them together? I can't. Right. They're in the middle. They pull back to the middle. Step up here, pulls up to here. Hey, what's a muscle that's kind of like the upper traps?
Levator scapula.
Damn right, levator scapula. Cool. Hooks to the superior angle of the scapula, but who cares? And hooks to the side of the neck. Right. And don't get me wrong, hooks to the side of the neck so it can affect your neck too. But it elevates the scapula. So do I think of it along with the upper traps? Heck yeah, I do. Boom. All right. It got stuck to the wrong area, but that's it. So these three muscles, the traps, upper traps often work with the levator scapula, the middle traps often work with the rhomboids. Yeah? Cool. That's stuff in back. Let's look at the opposites. What is the muscle that attaches to the medial border of the scapula, but on the anterior side? So it comes wrapping around here. Go ahead, say it, Ms. Torres.
Serratus anterior.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I think we forget this. On the back of your body, the rhomboids are right here. The serratus anterior is actually underneath here. It actually kisses the rhomboids. Rhomboids retract your scapula. Serratus anterior protract it. So they come, strangely enough, it's hard for me to tape this because it's all screwed in, but they come from in here. So what's the main action of the serratus anterior? Ms. Felix Osuna, what's the main action of the serratus anterior?
Could it be protect?
Can it, what'd you say? Say it again.
Protract?
Protract, yeah. To abduct the scapula, protract it. Right? And, by the way, they run downhill a little bit. You could argue a slight depression, but that's fine. What's another muscle that helps the serratus anterior because it protracts and depresses the scapula, which means that if it protracts and depresses, it has to run kind of diagonal in front. What's up, Mr. Yan? Yes!
I think in the protect minor.
Yes, yes, pectoralis minor. It attaches to the coracoid process, which is part of the scapula, in front. This is why we rub people's chests even when they have shoulder problems, right? And it's actually got a little 3D lead here. But the point is, boom, right. So you've got this guy here that can pull forward and down. And by the way, if my body didn't want it to go down, it just wanted it to go forward, my traps would lift up while my pecs pulled forward and it wouldn't go down. If my traps don't lift up while my pecs pull forward, they run diagonal and I go down. Does that make sense? That's kind of how we were talking about like different muscles helping you do different things. It's okay to yawn, I don't blame you. So you've got all these different movements. We can now move scapulas front, back, up, down. And of course diagonal by combining all those together. Yes, Miss Monreal.
So if somebody has a winged scapula, and
Yes.
I know you've gone over this a little bit.
No, that's okay.
And it was mentioned in the book. Okay, so serratus anterior is going to be weak.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Serratus anterior actually helps hold it down to the rib cage.
Okay, so if that were the case,
Rhomboids too.
would you even work on serratus anterior? I
Not-
mean, it's
not-
already weak.
Not usually.
Okay.
No, I mean,
And-
you wouldn't hurt it, but the problem is, by the way, it occurs, most often it occurs because of a nerve problem to the serratus anterior. So it's not that common, but really what you do physical therapy wise is things to help you build your serratus anterior, which believe it or not, is kind of bench press, but not really. When I'm bench pressing, I'm using my pectoralis major and my triceps, right? We kind of talked about this. But when my arms are locked here, if I just do this, I'm working serratus anterior. Because my serratus anterior, I just want to protract. I want to lock something out here and just protract. Protract. In fact, I can feel it when I do that for a while. I can start to feel it into my rib here.
So you could even just hold a bar in front of you and do that movement?
Well, laying
and
down.
work it? Oh,
Because you
laying
need
down,
gravity
okay.
going against that, or push against a wall or something. But yes, you could. And the movement's about that much, right? It's not a lot.
So what is the connection between serratus anterior and the pec muscles? Is there ever going to be an issue with like those three for someone?
Well, don't in general, don't ever lump the two pec muscles together.
Okay.
Because one, don't get me wrong, they work together all the time. But one, the pec minor hooks to the scapula, it moves the scapula. One, the pec major hooks to the arm and moves the arm. Now don't get me wrong, when I'm bench pressing, I use my pec major to move my arm, and my pec minor keeps my scapula from popping off my back. It's working. But this movement is coming from pec major. And a lot of people think because their names are similar, that they kind of go together, and they really don't. They're called those because they're in the same area.
Okay, so if somebody like their pec major was like super tight, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're having an issue with pec minor then, correct?
Correct. So here's the tricky part. Let me ask you this. We often see, let me ask everybody this. This is a real good application of looking at pec major and pec minor. We often see, especially men by the way, people that kind of come in and their shoulders are kind of rolled in. Okay. When I'm kind of like this, there can be two culprits. What protracts my scapula, abducts my scapula? What pec muscle does that?
Is that pec minor?
Pec minor definitely pulls my scapula forward. However, because my arm is attached to my scapula, if my pec major is really tight, it could bring everything forward too. Even though its job is not to move the scapula, by dragging my arm forward, it's going to pull the scapula in too. So if I do lots of bench and stuff and my chest is really tight, the difference is you tend to see the shoulders rolled in more because pec major tends to grab the shoulder and actually cause a medial rotation. So just tight pec minor kind of pulls your scapula forward. Tight pec major also tends to roll your shoulders in.
Wait, can you say that
attached to the
again?
arm. Yeah, I will.
High-tech minor.
Pulls
The
my
what?
scapula,
Okay,
forward.
uh-huh.
Tight pec major tends to roll my shoulder in too.
Okay,
Now, a
Okay.
tight pec major could do both those, even though that's not its job. It's just like you can't grab my wrist without taking my arm with it. So if you really roll my shoulder in, you're going to kind of pull my scapula forward and stuff like that. That's
that's
why you might look at those together. But the reason I don't like people looking at them together is they miss the entire point of like when I move an arm out like this, I am not stretching the pec minor.
Okay.
I am stretching the
But,
pec
and
major.
I guess in my head, why I was trying to figure it out, so if somebody did have that type of posture like you were saying,
And lots of people do.
wouldn't you just, I mean, I'm just thinking of front and back. I guess in my head, that's why I was like, okay, well, is serratus anterior lumped into the problems that might be there if somebody had tight pec muscles? I guess I wanted to see what the connection was between the three of those, if there was any.
Yes, so somebody with shoulders forward like this could have tight serratus anterior too. So if somebody comes in like this, I'm not going to try to figure out what's wrong, to be very honest with you. I'm going to hit serratus anterior, pec major, and pec minor. But I'll tell you some things that'll tell me that it's pec major. If I start to bring their arm out like this, and they're kind of stopping here, I'm going to be like, wow, pec major is definitely a major problem. If I get this loosened up, and it's still tight in here and their shoulders are still kind of forward, it could be pec minor and serratus anterior. But there's just 3 muscles, so I'll hit all of them. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
I will hit the stuff in front, absolutely. There's nothing wrong in general with massaging things that don't need it, but you just don't want to miss what needed it too. That's why you want enough anatomy that but there's some stuff that, to be honest with you, I'm like, I'm not smart enough and it's too much time consuming, and I'll rub any of this stuff. And usually what happens, you come along and you're like, damn, this area is really tight. And so you're like, that must be it. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you get all the stuff that goes in front, which is mainly serratus anterior and pec minor. However, pec major attaches to the arm, so if they're kind of rolling in too, you probably have a problem there. And you could have a problem with all 3. Most people don't really just have one problem, right? It's kind of a combination of something. Ms. Torres, yes, please.
Question.
Yeah.
So you know how you were saying about making a muscle stronger. So when the shoulders are rotated in or inwardly, so that means that the pecs, let's say the major, because that's mainly the one that kind of brings them in, it means it's weak?
No. I mean, think about it. What's contracting to have your shoulders rolling in front?
No. So I know that the rhomboids must be weak in order for that to happen, right?
Right.
But I'm saying so they're tight. But if the rhomboids are strong enough, they should be keeping your back good, right?
Yeah, and actually what happens with a lot of people, Ms. Torres, is the rhomboids are strong enough, and so they come into you and they're just tight all over. The rhomboids are really tight, and you feel their chest is really tight because they're fighting each other. And they're in fairly good posture because the rhomboids are not letting those shoulders roll forward. And so they're fighting each other. That's very common. That's why it's good to know about antagonists and agonists. So what if my shoulders are rolled in and they're protracted? That's 2 movements. What creates a lateral rotation of the shoulders and a retraction of the scapula? A lateral rotation of the shoulder, which means I have to grab on the arm. Humorous. I mean, yes, rhomboids and middle traps create the retraction of the scapula, but what creates a lateral rotation? What would be implied to be weak if I'm rolled in? What's not rolling me back out? What creates a lateral? I'm asking anybody. Lateral rotation. I can think of 3 muscles that create a lateral rotation of the shoulder because they're. Remember, if you want me to roll out, you got to be behind me to roll my shoulders out. Wait, I've seen lots of Miss Yanez, please.
I don't know. Is it a muscle like we haven't talked about?
No, it's a muscle we've talked about. It's 3 muscles we've talked about. I mean, not today. Not today.
Oh, okay. Like it's not the ones that we just did.
No.
So the teres minor. and then the infraspinatus.
Oh, you put those two together?
I don't know the third one.
She's absolutely right, by the way. The teres minor and infraspinatus create a lateral rotation. They are rotator cuff muscles that create a lateral rotation of the shoulder. Unlike the subscapularis that creates a anterior, like a middle rotation, medial rotation. So fantastic. Is there a pretty big muscle that part of it, the posterior part, can create a horizontal abduction, but it can also create a lateral rotation of the shoulder. It's a three-part muscle. The posterior part could create a lateral rotation. Does create a lateral rotation. Anybody? Oh, Miss Hanson. It is the deltoid, the rear deltoid. Yeah. The rear deltoid runs across here. I know it can pull your arm back, but it can also roll it out. Yeah, good. Good job, both of you, by the way. Good job getting the rotator cuff muscles. Good job getting the rear deltoid. Really good job. Yeah, good stuff. It's okay if you guys don't get this stuff first time. I just hope that you see it when somebody else says it. Like you start to go, okay, yeah, makes sense. If it's not making sense, though, let me know, because you need to understand the concept in order to learn it, kind of thing. Cool. All right, so let's look at what they talk about here about movements of the trapezius. We're not going to worry about origin insertions because they're stupid. And we're not going to worry about... By the way, it's cool. They call the trapezius the coat hanger muscle. Can somebody explain why? I've never used that term before. Ms. Jonas, you still have your hand raised. Do you want to explain why it's the coat hanger muscle? You have your hand raised. Miss Cooper, you have your hand raised. Miss Hanson, you just raised your hand? Do you want to explain that? Or Miss Cooper, you were starting to talk. Do you want to explain why it's called the coat hanger muscle?
Well, I mean, it elevates your scapula.
Yeah, it's because your shoulders literally hang off the back of your head.
Yeah.
What attaches my entire shoulders and arm to my body? This stupid little sternoclavicular joint right here. So they're literally hanging off the back of my head. I can't describe that to you enough. If you cut through the levator scapula and the trapezius, my arm it'd be disgusting. It'd be hanging down like by my belly. It would be like swinging off this little clavicle down here.
I'm sure there's car accident horror stories.
Yeah. I feel like I wish I had like someone I'd come walking in and you'd be like, oh my God, it really is the coat hanger. You really do. When people are like, oh, that jacket hangs nice off you. Yeah, so do my shoulders. Like they really are hanging off the back. That's why neck and shoulder tension is intimately related, because they're the same thing. My neck muscles kind of are my shoulder muscles. Cool. Good answers. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So they're getting all nitpicky about this stuff. So please look at this picture. Please see how the rhomboids run into the medial border of the scapula and then continue as the serratus anterior. That's why the rhomboids pull you back and up, the serratus pulls you front and down. Retraction, elevation, protraction, depression. Adduction, elevation, abduction, depression. Because they run in this angle. And by the way, again, I said you could stop that from going up or down or whatever, but their job is to slide my scapula back and forth around my body. We don't think about it because I'm all covered in flesh, but that's my reach if my scapula is retracted. That is a huge difference. That's just me protracting and retracting. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. Because my scapula is moving from the back, sliding around my ribcage to the front, thanks to the serratus anterior and the rhomboids. And so, do these muscles sometimes argue with each other? Yes, Mr. Tapscott, you've been telling us that for 5 months. Yes, they do. Thank you. Good answer. And they actually kiss each other at the medial border of the rhomboid. So it's very funny to me when massage therapists think they're all cool and they're like, well, you don't just give them little traps, you give the rhomboids, the rhomboids, the rhomboids. Yes, you do. What argues with the rhomboids? I don't know what you're talking about. Argue? What's the opposite action of the rhomboids? What muscle? Serratus anterior. Well, yeah, I guess so. No, you don't guess so. You don't even know where they attach. You don't even realize that they actually touch the rhomboids. They literally touch them right here. There's just a bone in the middle. And they're arguing over that bone all day long. No, I want it. No, I want it. No, I want it. No, I want it. That's what they're doing. Around this egg that is your rib cage. And it is an egg. You don't see that it's an egg because my shoulders square me off. But if you cut all this stuff off, my arm was hanging down here by the thing, you'd see that my rib cage is a perfect egg. It's a perfect egg. Yes, Miss Petrie.
I like this. I like this picture. I didn't even think about how the rhomboids and serratus anterior
Of course you
actually
did.
each other.
We did sincerely teach this to you guys in the beginning, but it wasn't because you weren't smart or anything like that. It's because it's that hard to grasp. So we had to kind of teach you this stuff and come back to it. So are you saying you like this picture and this concept that's in this chapter?
Oh, you stop it now.
Okay,
Oh,
just
you
checking.
Stop it.
I was just checking. Well,
I see what you're doing.
there probably won't be anything else, but we'll see. Miss Cooper, did you have a question?
No, I forgot to lower my hand.
All right, no problem. Good. So, Miss Petrie, I can't tell you how happy it makes me that I can see that you see how they work. But before, could we all think three-dimensionally? It's very hard to do. Like, we live in a three-dimensional world, but all our information is on a flat screen right now. I'm flat right now, right? Thinking dimensionally is really hard in layers and stuff wrapped around stuff. So good job. Awesome. You made my day. Thanks to this picture that's in this chapter with the understanding that you've gained. Okay. So, yes, Miss Stanley, please.
Could we take a break soon? My head's throbbing.
Your head's throbbing? All right, I will give us a 10-minute break, but we got to come back. I do care your head's throbbing, by the way. I'll see you guys at 9:45. 9:45. That's like 10 and a half minutes. Yeah. 9:45. Because we are, it's good. It's just good. It's good. I know. I love this stuff so much. Oh. Woo! Da, 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 da. You say 9:45? Hey, what did I say 9:45? Is that what I said? I don't remember. Okay, we'll stick with that. I think I did. Yeah. I just want to make sure it wasn't 9:40. Okay, let's see. Ba, ba, da, ba. Miss Stanley, you have your hand up? Or is that just from asking about a break?
It was from asking about break. Sorry about it.
No, don't be sorry.
I feel like as a kid when your mom would wake you up like 5 more minutes of break.
Send me all the time. I want 5 minutes before wake. I so want 5 minutes.
Okay, we all back? That's all right. I'll do a little roll call with some muscle stuff. I did this last night's class. Worked really, really well. Miss Yanis, what are the 3 calf muscles?
The gastrocnemius, soleus, and plantaris.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Well, which ones aid in a plantar flexion because they insert into the calcaneus via the Achilles tendon or the calcaneal tendon?
All 3 of them.
Yes, all 3 of them. Which one aids in a flexion of the knee?
The gastrocnemius.
Yes, which one is most superficial?
The gastrocnemius.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Torres, what are the 3 hamstring muscles?
Bicep femoris. Okay, semimembranosus, semitendinosus.
Cool. Which ones aid in a flexion of the knee?
All 3.
Yes. Which one is most lateral?
Semitendinosus. Lateral. Bicep femoris.
Biceps femoris, yeah. Semimembranosus, semitendinosus are on the medial side. Very good. Which heads aid in an extension of the hip?
Long head of the bicep femoris. Hello?
Hello?
Oh. What happened?
I enjoyed your partial answer. I'm waiting for the rest of it.
Oh. What?
How many of the hamstrings attach to the ischial tuberosity of the hips and aid in an extension of the hip and a posterior tilt of the pelvis? You said long head of the bicep. You said the hardest one. You said long head of the biceps femoris.
All of them.
Except for the short head of the biceps femoris, yes. Good.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Stanley, what are
I'm
the...
looking at the pictures and I swear everybody froze. Like everybody was just like super quiet, so I was like, oh, here we go again with my internet.
Miss Stanley, what are the 4 quads?
The 4 quads
Yep, quadriceps femoris.
is the biceps femoris.
No,
No?
that's a hamstring. I want the quads.
Oh, is that the vastus?
Yeah.
Vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, and vastus lateralis.
Yep.
And I don't know why, but that other one always floats away from me.
I'll give you time. It's got the word femoris in it.
So is it rectus femoris then?
Yes. Which ones insert into the tibia via the patellar and the patellar tendon and ligament?
Isn't it all of them?
Yes. Which ones therefore can create an extension of the knee?
Wouldn't it still be all of them?
Yes. Which one can create a flexion of the hip because it inserts into the anterior inferior iliac spine of the hip?
Wouldn't that one be rectus femoris?
Yes. Which one can create an anterior tilt of the hip?
Rectus femoris?
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was awesome. Miss Petrie. Oh, happy days. What are the 5 hip adductors?
Oh, adductor magnus, adductor longus, adductor brevis, gracilis, and pectineus.
Yes. Which ones aid in adduction of the hip?
Oh,
Thank you. I was like, don't overthink it. Which one crosses the knee joint? And so it can actually aid in medial stability of the knee, some flexion of the knee, all sorts of stuff. But it's one crosses the knee joint.
I want to say it's the gracilis.
I want you to say it's gracilis. Why don't you say that?
Okay, gracilis.
Perfect. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Got
It's
it.
been a pleasure. Awesome. Miss Nguyen,
Yeah.
what are the 3 gluteal muscles?
Gluteal maximum,
Maximus.
And-
Yep.
maximum, and gluteal medial,
Yep.
gluteal minimus.
Minimus. Cool. Which one is the largest of the 3 gluteals?
Gluteal maximum,
Yes. Which one is a powerful hip extender? Extension of the hip. Because it's behind the person.
gluteal minimus. No. Oh, so gluteal maximum.
Yes. Gluteus maximus is the largest and it's a powerful hip extender because it's found behind you. Also kind of ties into your lower back. Also,
Yeah.
also, which one actually has attachments into the IT band as well? Along with
IT band, yeah. And yesterday in the metabolic health that.
Good. So which one is it?
Uh,
Which gluteal muscle also inserts into the IT band?
IT band, yeah. Yesterday he talked about that.
I know. I'm asking you a question though. Which of the 3 gluteal muscles, gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, or gluteus minimus, inserts into the IT band? Actually wraps around from the back and inserts.
Yeah, yesterday I forgot about that. Sorry.
Good. Okay, it's gluteus maximus. Gluteus maximus actually wraps around and also goes into your IT band. Also goes into the gluteal tuberosity in your femur, but it wraps around and goes in your IT band. Cool. Which gluteal, just give me one, you could argue more than one, which gluteal would be your best hip abductor?
Made you in the AB doctor?
Abductor, because it's found on the sides of you, the lateral sides of you.
Oh, gluteal maximum though?
Is the gluteal maximum found on the sides of you? Do you walk around with your buns on the side of you? I hope not. They're behind you.
Okay, and so that's why in the gluteal minimum?
Medius?
Yeah.
Gluteus medius?
So many?
All right. Everybody. Everybody. Actually, I do care, but if you don't want to do it with me, don't. But I'll be expecting this answer from everybody. It goes gluteus maximus, medius, minimus. Because it's back here, my maximus can cause an extension. Because it's right here, the medius can cause an abduction. Because it's right here, minimus, it can actually cause a flexion of the hip. It can be a hip flexor. Okay. Max movement.
So that's why in the medium, right?
The abduction is the medius. Don't get me wrong, you can argue with the minimus and certain fibers, but I'm trying to keep it simple. All right, so which gluteal muscle can cause a flexion of the hip because it's found a little bit in front. A little bit. Don't say the maximus.
So please ask me again.
By the way, I'm sorry too, you're right, you have to translate. Which gluteal muscle can help me with a hip flexion? Because it's found a little bit in front.
In the front. Oh, so that's why you say the gluteal medial. No,
Gluteus what?
gluteal medial.
Minimus.
Minimum. Okay. So they do in the ID drop and what more?
So which,
Next thing.
Miss Nguyen, can you see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so watch. Can you see my amazing rump?
Yeah.
Okay. What gluteal muscle am I grabbing right now?
Maximum.
Yes. What gluteal muscle am I grabbing right now?
Medium.
Yes. What gluteal muscle am I grabbing right now?
Minimus.
Minimus. Yeah, good. So when the minimus pulls, it kind of pulls the leg forward. When the medius pulls, it kind of pulls it to the side. And when the maximus pulls, it kind of pulls it in back. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's a lot. Miss Moore.
Yes.
Hi, Miss Moore. What are the three gluteal muscles, Miss Moore?
Maximus, minimus, and minimus.
Yeah, that is correct, by the way. I think you're going to confuse yourself saying them out of order, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Max, speed, min. Cool. Which one is an extender of the hip because it's found posteriorly, behind me?
The maximus.
Yes. Which one is an abductor of the hip because it's found laterally?
The minimus, maximus minimus. Maximus minimus. Medius.
Watch me again. I'm going to do this again.
Okay.
What muscle am I holding right now?
Maximus.
What muscle is this?
Medius.
Yes. What muscle is this?
Minimus.
Yeah. Max, med, min. So which one would cause an abduction?
Minimus.
Medius.
Medius, yeah.
Medius. Okay.
I can't say it.
No, I understand. I do hear that's part of the problem. And which one could cause a flexion of my hip?
Minimus.
Minimus. Cool. Now, by the way, everybody, there's a lot of fibers to the medius, and some do help with a flex, but don't worry about that at all. Cool. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Miss Monreal. Miss Monreal. I know that you're tobogganing right now, and then you have to go through the steam room and shower off really quick, and then grab a towel and hug a kid while you're drinking your coffee.
Trying to get to my phone. Okay, whatever.
Miss
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just picture you in this big room trying to get to your phone. Okay, Miss Monreal, what are the 5 abdominal muscles?
Rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis. Hold on, my brain.
No, it's all right. I just pulled this out of my hat, so it's okay.
Okay. Rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis. Internal oblique, external oblique.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Oh, well, that's 4 out of the 5. It's not. That's 80%. That's good.
Okay, rectus, transverse, internal.
Yep. Last.
Quadratus. Quadratus lumborum.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Which one? Let's not get fancy. I'm looking for simple answers here. Just give me one. Which one would be most responsible for a flexion of the spine?
Okay. Okay, flexion of the spine. Rectus abdominis?
Yes, all day long. That's really what it does. By the way, the reason I said keep it simple is the obliques can help too, even though they're going diagonal, they can help, but I want to keep it simple.
Okay.
Which one, bilaterally, keep it simple, could be responsible, believe it or not, for an extension of the spine?
Quadratus lumborum?
Yeah, it actually helps with
Why am I forgetting this?
It doesn't matter. That's good. So we got rectus abdominis. By the way, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm bombarding you with these questions because now you're able, I'm so excited. You're able to put together information in really interesting ways now. I've been waiting for 4.5 months to have this conversation with all of you. So this is great. So rectus abdominis, quadratus lumborum. Cool.
Okay, lumborum.
Which two abdominals are responsible for rotations? You don't have to worry about which direction, anything. They just are responsible for rotations because they run diagonal.
Internal and external oblique.
Thank you. And which abdominal is responsible for cinching down your whole abdominal cavity just to kind of strengthen that area and build pressure up in it?
Transverse abdominis.
Thank you. Good job. Moving right along. Mr. Gandaris.
Sir.
What are the deep six muscles? The deep six lateral hip rotators.
Okay, we got the piriformis. We got the obturator internus.
Yeah.
The obturator externus. Yeah. The gemellus superior.
Yeah.
The gemellus inferior.
Yeah.
And quadratus femoris.
Awesome. Very good, sir. Which one can pinch the sciatic nerve?
The piriformis.
Yes. Which one is most superior?
The piriformis.
Yes. Which one is most inferior?
Gemellus inferior.
No, that was a great guess, though. Thank you for using inferior. Yeah, and a lot of people do that. The gemellus inferior, by the way, is the most inferior to the gemellus superior, but it's not the most inferior one at all.
So obturator inferior then?
No, that's interior and exterior. No. What's the most inferior one? We only got one left.
Quadratus femoris.
Cool. So you got your piriformis on top, most superior, quadratus femoris on the bottom. And where can I find the other four muscles just in simple English? The gemellus superior, gemellus inferior, obturator internus, obturator externus.
In between.
Thank you. Right here, in between. In this tiny little space, everybody, just so we know. Sir, which ones of those muscles can laterally rotate the hip?
Most of them.
Which ones? I love your answers, by the way. Most of them on a Tuesday. Can the piriformis laterally rotate the hip?
Yeah.
Good. Can the quadratus femoris, the most inferior one, laterally rotate the hip?
No.
It can. Can the gemellus superior laterally rotate the hip?
Yes.
Yes. Can therefore the gemellus inferior laterally rotate the hip?
Sure.
Yes. Can the obturator internus laterally rotate the hip?
No.
Yes, it can. Can the obturator externus laterally rotate the hip?
Yeah.
Yes. They're called the deep six lateral hip rotators because they laterally rotate the hip.
Okay.
That's how they got their name.
But
Deep six.
Most of them, I should say all of them.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good. You were going with what you got. You got all six. Really good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right. Don't forget that, everybody. I wasn't just making fun of him. Deep six, all six laterally rotate the hip. That's why they're called lateral hip rotators. I mean, that's how they got their name, right? Cool. Miss Hunter.
Yes.
Miss Hunter, what are the two muscles responsible for protracting and depressing slightly, protracting and depressing, or abducting and depressing slightly the scapula?
That would be the traps or the rhomboids.
I didn't say retracting and adducting. I said protracting and abducting or depressing.
The lats.
So these two muscles would be found in front because when I protract, I come in front. So they're found in front.
Oh, the pecs.
Yes, which pecs?
Major.
They have to attach the scapula. It's It's okay.
I'm.
You're on the spot. I'm throwing a lot at you guys today.
No, you're fine. I don't care.
Good. Then answer the question.
I thought that said pec major already.
That's pec major. What's this?
Oh, minor.
Yeah, because it attaches to ribs 3, 4, and 5. Boom. And it goes from your coracoid process on your scapula. So it actually hooks here and pulls my scapula forward. So pec minor, and what's the other thing that attaches to the anterior medial border of my scapula that pulls my scapula forward? It can argue with the rhomboids. These argue with the rhomboids and middle traps, but it's found in front.
Is it a teres?
No.
It's not teres?
No. No.
Okay.
I know, this one's tough. This one's got teeth.
It's still in front, right?
It's still in the front. This is a tough question. You gotta kind of, I don't know, you gotta kind of saw through this one and, I don't know.
Is it serratus?
Serratus anterior! Yeah, there is a serratus posterior, superior and inferior, but serratus anterior, yes. And pec minor. Serratus anterior and pec minor pull your scapulas forward. You were on the right track, but you were telling us stuff that was pulling your scapula back, rhomboids and middle traps. Yep. Cool. Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Miss Harper.
Yes, sir.
Miss Harper?
Yes, sir.
I have a lot of faith in you, Miss Harper. I hope you know that. I hope you know that I would never ask you really, really difficult questions if I didn't think you at least had a shot at answering them. And I know how much you like the limelight. I know how much you like to answer questions in front of other people. Miss Harper, what are the 4 rotator cuff muscles?
Oh, the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the subscapularis, and the teres minor.
Yeah. What 2 go together since you didn't say them together?
Oh, the teres minor and infraspinatus.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. Which one of those is most superior?
The most superior is the supraspinatus.
Yeah. So which one do you suppose would cause an abduction of the shoulder?
The abduction, the supraspinatus.
By the way, everybody, she's right. It's the only rotator cuff muscle that doesn't rotate. It reaches out, reaches underneath the acromion process. I didn't have time to do that. But it reaches over here and it grabs on the outside of the shoulder. And since it grabs on the outside of the shoulder, guess what it does? Abducts the shoulder. That's correct. What movement does the teres minor and infraspinatus do? They're on the back here, right?
Yeah. So they at the back, they lateral rotation.
Yeah, they laterally rotate back here. That was the answer Miss Yana's got when we were talking about this, right? Yes. Now, the subscapularis. Which side of the scapula is the subscapularis on? I know we talked about it.
It's it's the side of the the infra, the side of that, how can I explain?
What I'm trying to get you to say is the subscapularis is actually the anterior part of the scapula,
close,
right?
Yeah, close
So
to the...
so the subscapularis, we say it's underneath because it is underneath us, but it's really in front.
Yes.
So what kind of rotation does the subscapularis cause?
It's medially rotate the arms, the shoulder.
I don't really care at this point. You could have said leg. I'm so happy right now you said medial. Yeah, that's beautiful. It medially rotates because it's reaching from in front. And the ones behind laterally rotate. And the one on top, abducts. Brilliant. You just summarized rotator cuff muscles for us all. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. It was really good. Miss Hanson. Hi. I'm running out of things to ask, Miss Hanson. We've hit some really, really important stuff. What is the name of the muscle that attaches to the lateral 1/3 of the clavicle, the acromion process, the spine of the scapula, and inserts into a tuberosity? I'm not going to tell you which one because it'll give the answer away.
Is that the deltoid?
It is the deltoid. How many parts does the deltoid have?
3.
Yes. What are they called?
Are they posterior, inferior?
Posterior, but what worries me is you're touching anterior and saying posterior.
Anterior, sorry.
Anterior, posterior, and middle. Middle. So you got that anterior, posterior, and middle?
Yeah.
What movements might the anterior deltoid be responsible for?
The anterior would medially rotate.
That's a really good one. That's the harder one. What else could it do? What movements happen in front of you?
Flexion.
There you go. Stop right there. By the way, it can also help in horizontal adduction, but that's fine. Flexion, medial rotation, I love that. What can the posterior deltoid do?
Laterally rotate.
Uh-huh.
And extend.
Yeah, it's behind you. It can extend too. Pull your arm back, you can feel it. What action can the middle deltoid do? You're doing it right. What was that?
AB duct.
AB duct. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you for summarizing deltoid actions for us. That was beautiful. Nicely done. Miss Felix Osuna.
Yes.
What are the names of the two pectoral muscles?
Pec minor, pec major.
Yes. Which one moves the scapula?
The pectoralis minor.
Yes, because it attached to the coracoid process. Which one moves the humerus?
The pectoralis major.
Yes, because it reaches over to the arm. Cool. So which one is responsible for protracting or abducting the scapula?
That would be, is this still the pectoralis minor?
Just the pec minor, yeah, pec minor, yeah. Which one would be responsible for horizontally adducting? It does a lot of stuff, actually. You could argue some flexion in there also, but horizontally adducting the humerus, the shoulder, the glenohumeral joint. Major. Which one can medially rotate the humerus?
Pectoralis major still?
Yeah, still. Yeah, it's got to grab on. I mean, I gave it away once yes, it's got to grab on the humerus to immediately rotate it. But it grabs on here and it can kind of immediately rotate. Good. Thank you very much, ma'am.
No problem.
Miss Cooper.
Hey girl, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's this action right here?
Flexion?
Flexion of the elbow. Thank you. What two muscles do you know about cause a flexion of the elbow? Hint, it's happening in front, so they got to be found in front. What?
Biceps brachii?
Biceps brachii, bam. That's a two-headed muscle that's responsible for that movement. And what's the muscle underneath the biceps brachii that's also responsible for flexion of the elbow?
Triceps brachii?
Is that found in front of my arm?
Oh no.
Are you just throwing out random stuff?
No, I just got it wrong. I forget what's underneath it.
I'll give you a break on this one.
Well, I just said biceps brachii.
Yeah, this other one sounds kind of like that too. I'd ask Alice, but we already broke her. Brachialis.
There is a muscle called Alice brachii.
But there's brachialis.
Oh.
Biceps brachii, brachialis underneath it. All day long, the brachialis flexes this thing. Biceps brachii basically all day long does this, but across the shoulder. Anyway, so this is a flexion. These right now, if I'm performing this movement, are agonists. They hurt. I'm working. Right? What is their antagonist right now? What could stop that movement? What could get in the way of it? What does the opposite of those two muscles?
The triceps?
Yes, the triceps brachii. Excellent. Thank you very much, ma'am. That was good. Good. Down on the back of your arm. Cool. Miss Balatic.
Yeah.
She's like, whoopee. Miss Blodek, I think I've honestly almost run out of muscles that we've covered so far, Miss Blodek. I'm trying to remember anything left. Miss Blodek, what are two muscles that can retract or adduct my scapula? So these muscles have to attach to my scapula. They actually kind of attach my scapula to my spine in back, and they retract or adduct my scapula. Two muscles. In a way, three muscles, if you want to get real nitpicky. But
The rhomboids?
yeah, major or minor? It's a trick
Major?
question. It's a trick question. It's both.
Oh, minor?
It's trick questions, both.
Oh, both?
Yeah, they're the same. They really should just call them rhomboids. Rhomboids, major, minor, yes. Okay, I was counting that as one muscle though. What's the other one? It's the middle fibers of another muscle.
The traps?
Yeah,
No.
you nailed it.
Oh,
Don't say no, you nailed it. Okay, rhomboids and middle traps pull my scapula back. Beautiful, thank you very much. Okay, everybody's here. We're all here, we're all going. Let's keep moving. Any questions so far? You guys are making real progress. It's getting interesting now. Yeah, remember this is what you paid for. Whew. Okay. This is also what the rest of class is going to look like, so not just today. All right. Okay. What is that? Oh, cut and reflective. That's confusing. We're not going to get into that. Okay. All right. So we just looked at scapular movement. In order to move the scapula, muscles must be attached to the scapula and hook them back to the body. If I want to move the scapula in relation to my body, I need to take like a rhomboid and hook it to medial border and attach it to my spine. I need to take a trapezius and hook it to the spine of the scapula, the acromion process, and hook it to my spine or back of my head, right? My pec minor hooks my scapula to my chest, to my rib cage. My serratus anterior hooks my scapula to my rib cage. All this stuff moves the scapula around the rib cage, right? Levator scapula moves the scapula around the rib cage. So really there's 5 muscles that basically move the scapula around the rib cage, right? We just talked about them. Yes. Who would like to tell me what those 5 muscles are that we just talked about that move the scapula? Because they attach to the scapula and hook it to the rib cage or the spine. Rib cage of the spine. The axial skeleton. What are those 5 muscles that move the scapula? Miss Giannis, thank you. I was going to call on you, but I was like, I kind of pick on her sometimes. I mean, I shouldn't. I didn't know, but now you call. Anyway, what are they?
The levator scapula, the rhomboids, the trapezius, the serratus anterior, and the pectoralis minor.
Warms my heart, Miss Giannis. Miss Giannis, can you, there's not an exact right answer to this, so please don't start thinking like exactly what does he want. But if we were to kind of group these together because they do similar actions, or I might want to think about them together, right? Like, can you group them for me at all? Are there any that you would put together?
The serratus anterior and the pectoralis minor would go together.
Everybody, hear that. For the rest of your life, serratus anterior and pec minor do go together. That was brilliant. Anything else you might group together? Maybe pieces of muscles with another muscle.
The rhomboids and the middle trapezius would go together.
Rhomboids, major, minor, middle trapezius would definitely go together. And you were about to say something else brilliant. I know it's coming.
The upper parts of the trapezius and the levator scapula would go together.
Yeah. Guys, we're not saying that 100% of the time they work together, but I bet you about 92.7% of the time or something like that, they work together. Thank you. And by the way, quite often they are found together too. Like the rhomboids and middle traps, you can't avoid hitting those together. But thank you. What I'm trying to get you guys to do is to organize material in a certain way, right? If it helps all too, this has been the most advanced class we've had so far in the 6 years I've taught here. So I hope that's good for you. Okay, so scapula was easy because your shoulder does a lot. Let's look at the muscles that attach to the shoulder. Now some of these tie the arm, the humerus, back to the scapula. Some of these tie the humerus back to the body, but the point is they move the humerus around. They move the shoulder joint around. So we've got 4 very obvious muscles that attach your shoulder to your scapula. 4 very obvious muscles because they actually help create a more solid shoulder joint because they kind of wrap around the shoulder itself. And there are 4 very obvious muscles that you could just tick right off the bat that help the shoulder move. They're tiny muscles. They're very deep. And those are the rotator cuff muscles. Right? Okay. So Miss Hunter, what are the 4 rotator cuff muscles? Just their names. Just their names.
For rotator cuff.
You're about to say it.
I'm sorry?
You were about to say it. It sounded to me like you were.
I was gonna say supraspinatus.
Good. That's what I thought you were going to say.
LOL. Infraspinatus. 4 of them.
Anytime you say infraspinatus, you say
teres major. What? I'm like, what is happening? You silly.
Tiny muscle, and then teres major is a big muscle. The latissimus dorsi goes with the teres major. The infraspinatus goes with the teres minor. Latissimus dorsi is big. Teres major is big. Major. The infraspinatus is little. Teres minor is little. Infraspinatus and teres minor.
Okay.
Okay.
Did I say all 4 of them yet, or no?
I don't know. I was banging my head against the wall. So, it's supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and what's the last one?
Subscapularis.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. So, which one's most superior?
Supraspinatus.
Yeah. It's on top. So when it contracts, what does it do?
It abducts.
Yes, that's brilliant. The infraspinatus and teres minor and back, when they contract, what do?
Goes backwards.
Well, I'm not just going backwards, I'm what kind of rotating?
I don't know, medial or external?
Yeah, you like to call it external, and that's totally legitimate. It's external or lateral rotation.
Oh, lateral.
Then the subscapularis is underneath my scapula, but it actually makes it anterior and it grabs up here in front. When it contracts, what does it do?
It medial rotates.
Yes, that was really good. Thank you. Thank you. I expect this stuff to be hard, everybody. Like, I'm grabbing stuff from everywhere, right? And ask you to use it. Good job. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so those are kind of the obvious ones. Then on top of these, Miss Hansen was just telling us about, Miss Hansen, what's this muscle on top of all the rotator cuff muscles?
The deltoid.
Yeah, the deltoid. Hey, Miss Hansen, do you think that I could pair certain parts of the deltoid with certain rotator cuff muscles? Because they have, I don't know, kind of similar actions. So if I had a problem, I'd be like, look at this part, and they kind of go with another part. Like the infraspinatus and teres minor do a lateral rotation or external rotation. Is there a deltoid? The posterior deltoid. So the posterior deltoid and they're all on the back side anyway, and the infraspinatus and teres minor kind of go together. So with the subscapularis, what would that go with?
The middle. Or the sub.
Subscapularis.
Medial rotate.
Yeah. So it goes with the which deltoid?
With the anterior fibers.
And when I am abducting, what 2 muscles are we using?
Supraspinatus.
And?
Deltoid. Middle.
Deltoid.
Fibers.
By the way, everybody, that's true 100% of the time. It's almost impossible to abduct without engaging your supraspinatus and your middle deltoid. They work together. They really do. So I'm just kind of showing you guys how you can all of a sudden take this different stuff now and be like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to think in chains of muscles. Yes, if you want to slap me, it's okay. Any of you. I do understand that. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. So, anytime I say latissimus dorsi, you guys say teres major. Yes. Latissimus dorsi, very simply put, where would I find latissimus dorsi? It goes from where to where? Just like very, like simply put. Anybody? I don't mean even from a book. Just like, does it attach my foot to my nose? Does it?
Your humerus,
Yeah?
And your lower back?
Yeah.
Or your...
That was pretty darn good. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. So, it does. It goes so deep into my thoracolumbar aponeuroses, it hooks in some ways all the way down to my butt. But it goes down into here, but you gotta remember there's all this fascia down here that goes all in here. So in a way it comes here and it goes underneath my arm and into the front of underneath my armpit and into the front of my arm. And because it comes from underneath, it can cause a medial rotation, by the way. But its real job is to pull my arm down or down. What do we call this down? And what do we call this down? What do we call this down?
Is it an adduction?
Adduction. And what do we call this down?
An extension?
An extension, really good. It's hard to see those, but that was really good. Yeah, don't worry about what my things, but I am bringing my arm, I'm heading back. That's extension. I'm heading towards midline. That's adduction. It is a powerful extender, powerful adductor. It is the largest muscle in the upper body. Really good. And it pulls that arm and it lets me climb. Lets me climb. Very cool. Okay, so that's latissimus dorsi. And anytime latissimus dorsi is working as far as we're concerned, teres major is doing the same darn thing. And teres major is found up here, but teres major ties your arm into your scapula. Latissimus dorsi kind of does too, but it ties your arm into your body. So they work together to get this arm down, which is really trying to get you up, right? It's your climbing muscle. That's why it's so big. So that's latissimus dorsi, teres major, teres minor, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis. Deltoid. Two more, and then we're going to tie this all together in all sorts of fun ways. Pectoralis major. Just very simply put, where does pectoralis major go to and from? Where do I find it?
Humerus.
Yep.
And your sternum.
Yeah, there, I'll take it. Humerus and sternum. I mean, this is a terrible representation, but it pretty much tells me what it does. It can horizontally adduct me, it pulls me over. The upper fibers can actually, because they cross over a little bit here, the upper fibers can kind of help me flex a little bit. But anyway, it pulls me over up here like this, right? Push your hands together and you can actually feel your pecs tightening. Yeah. Cool, pectoralis major. And then we have the coracobrachialis. Where does the coracobrachialis go to and from? Just what its attachments. I don't care if they're insertions, origins, just attachments.
Coracoid process and your humerus?
Yeah, coracoid process. And they say the medial side, it's kind of the inside of the middle part of my humerus right here. But the fact is, you guys can see it, it's kind of diagonal. So it's going diagonal. Can it help me adduct? Yes, Mr. Tapside, I can. Can it help me flex? Yes, it can. Because it's doing both those. It's hard to imagine this, but this is a great example of a diagonal muscle. I am flexing and adducting right now. I'm doing both. My arm is coming up and over. This is a great example of a diagonal movement. We would actually say the person is flexing and adducting at the same time, which is causing them to go diagonal. Your head's hurt yet? Should a little bit. Okay. Good. Cool. Okay. So, let's look at shoulder movements. We've got all these muscles that move the shoulder now. Right? By saying they move the shoulder, they move your glenohumeral joint, which is really moving your humerus around. All right? Okay. So, Miss Felix Osuna. These are not easy questions I'm about to ask. So don't feel bad if you guys are having a hard time. Ms. Felix Osuna,
Yes.
I hope you can see the slide that's up here, the slide that says latissimus dorsi, teres major and minor and supraspinatus, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
On that slide, well, first, what's this action I'm doing?
That's is it flexion?
It is flexion.
Flexion.
Which of those muscles help with flexion? It's more than one. And I honestly don't know. I'd actually have to go through in my head. But it's more than one, that's for sure.
Could it be the maybe the deltoid?
Which part of the deltoid?
The anterior fibers?
Is she right, everybody? Damn straight she's right. That was a great answer. Anterior deltoid, definitely going to help with the flexion. It goes diagonal, but does that get me up? Yes. What else?
Could it be the pectoralis major too?
Pectoralis major, upper fibers, believe it or not. They actually kind of run like this. It's weird to see because your pec is huge. So the upper fibers, flexion too. So anterior deltoid, pectoralis major, yes. Is there one more on that list that helps with a flexion?
Maybe coracoid brachialis?
Yeah. For somebody who sounded so unsure of yourself, you nailed all three of those. Coracobrachialis. Yep, boom. So I don't know how she did that, everybody. I don't know her thought process. You were excellent, by the way. Thank you, Ms. Felix Osuna.
Thank you.
But one of the things she could have done if she was panicking like a deer caught in headlights is start naming stuff in front, because flexions happen in front. Anterior deltoid, pec, brachialis, coracobrachialis. Like those are the things in front. It can't be my lats, they're in back. Right? Can't be my rear deltoid. That stuff's gonna hold me back from those movements. Those are things, if I'm like, I can't lift my arm, what's the problem? You might be like, well, maybe it's the stuff behind. Yeah? Cool. Okay. Cool. Miss Cooper. What movement am I doing right now?
That's an abduction.
It is abduction, the glenohumeral joint. Thank you very much. Which muscles from this list here can aid in an abduction?
Yes, you still asking me?
I'm still asking you, yes ma'am.
Oh, okay, sorry, you said thank you, so I was...
No, I got you, I feel you. I don't think it's
So
a lot,
which
by the way.
ones do abduction?
Yeah, I think it's just two, but there's two fairly obvious ones there.
Deltoid?
Which part of the deltoid?
I feel like, is that a trick question? I guess it would be the top part, the major, the top part?
Is there a major deltoid and a minor deltoid?
No, that's why I'm confused.
There's an anterior, middle, and posterior deltoid. A front, side, and back deltoid. Which one would pull my arm to the side?
Medial?
Yes, because it's on the side. The medial. By the way, everybody, just so I don't, like some of this I'm simplifying for our learning purposes. There are, at certain angles, all three deltoids help pull your arm out to the side because of the angles they run. But the fact is it's the middle that's doing the work, the lion's share of the work. So the middle deltoid is pulling out to the side. Is there any other muscle that kind of attaches up here and could help pull my arm out to the side because it's up on top and it kind of grabs on the head and pulls it up a little bit? It's in that list. It would have to be...
Major?
No, that's here. I get that. I mean, it's stretching it, but I get it. Upper fibers, pec major. But no, this one actually sits back here and hooks into the head of the humerus. It's a super fantastic muscle, actually. It's often overlooked, and it usually works with the middle deltoid.
I don't know, I'm torn between two of them.
I know. It sends a tingling down your spine. Yeah.
What? I don't know what you meant by that, but the
I don't know. What would you say?
supraspinatus?
Yeah. Supraspinatus works with the middle deltoid. Good job. Creates an abduction. They work together. So why is that so important? Because people with problems abducting, which you will get all the time, people work them here all the time. They don't think to go through the trap and get into the supraspinous fossa right up here. But Miss Cooper will. And they'll be like, gosh, when I go to Miss Cooper, my shoulder problems get so much better. I don't know. It's because Miss Cooper knows to put all that stuff together. Thank you, ma'am. Really nicely done. Really nicely done. Would anybody like a hard one? Just to get you thinking. Anybody want to be challenged? I'm not going to volunteer somebody for this. I'm going to ask if somebody is stupid. I mean, brave enough to ask for this one.
I'll try.
Thank you, Miss Shaughness. Okay, Miss Shaughness. Which ones, and there is more than one, of these muscles medially rotate the humerus, the glenohumeral joint, medially rotate my humerus? This is very tricky, believe it or not. There's some obvious ones that you're going to get, for sure.
The anterior fibers of the deltoid.
Yeah, and thank you for grabbing. That's just like a good one to grab. Anterior deltoids of the fiber. Anterior fibers of the deltoid, yes. But they're going to help roll my shoulder in. Internal rotation, medial rotation, yes.
The subscapularis.
That's really good. I didn't think you'd get that one. Not because I don't believe in you. That one's tricky. Subscapularis is still in front. We don't think of it as in front because it's way back here, but it's in front, and it medially rotates. Yeah. Anything else in front that we should consider?
Pectoralis major.
Absolutely, pectoralis. Think when bodybuilders do that pose where they go like this, they're actually medially rotating and engaging their pectoralis major. That's good. So you already got subscapularis, a tricky one. Yeah. Pectoralis major. Coracobrachialis is probably stretching it.
Okay.
If that's where you were going. The next two are really tricky, but if you get one, you'll get the other.
Is it the latissimus dorsi and teres major?
Yeah, and I didn't think you'd get that one because they're in back. And normally muscles in back don't work that way. But remember, the lats come up from underneath in back. And so when they pull, they roll me in from behind. They come in from in back and roll me in from behind. If your lats grabbed on the outside of your shoulders, it wouldn't work, but they don't. They actually grab onto the inside of your shoulders from back here, and they roll you in too. So lots of stuff creates a medial rotation of the shoulder. Really nicely done. Good job. I think that's all of them. That's definitely, yeah. Boom. Okay. Good stuff. All right. And this question's a little easier. Who wants to tell me what can laterally or externally rotate my shoulders? It's not easy, but it's easier. Somebody new, somebody blue, somebody happy, somebody smiling. Somebody? Anybody? What? You guys want me to call on you? Okay. Miss Moore. I miss talking to you. Miss Moore, what muscles could create a lateral rolling out of my shoulders, which means they have to be behind me. So we're looking for muscles behind me. Not all the muscles behind me, but some. Are you there, Miss Moore?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what muscles might grab onto the outsides of my shoulders and roll them outwards?
The deltoid tuberosity?
Well,
or just the deltoid?
The deltoid. Tuberosity is a bone.
No, wait, yeah, because the deltoid's in the leg, huh? Yeah, right.
No. Don't confuse yourself. Deltoid, but anyway, would it be the anterior fibers, the middle fibers, or the posterior fibers?
Wait, it froze. Say that again.
So I've got to, no, it's
it's
okay. It's a lot. We're thinking a lot. So I've got to roll this shoulder back That word is key, back. And muscles can only pull, they can only do one thing. Is it going to be my anterior fibers, my middle fibers, or my posterior fibers of the deltoid? They're going to pull that shoulder back, rotate it back.
Posterior fibers.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Posterior, because it's going back. You got to be behind. So my shoulder stuff behind. Boom. Are there any other fibers kind of found back here, any other muscles kind of right back here that could help roll my shoulder back? I'm thinking of two that go together all the time.
Yeah, medial. Wait, no.
These two muscles go together all the time. I say one, you say the other.
Posterior.
They're tiny. And they're rotator cuff muscles.
Oh wait, you just said this yesterday. When I say something, you say something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to give you one, and you're going to give me the other one. I say infraspinatus.
Supraspinatus.
Don't you dare.
I don't know. I'm lost.
I
I'm
say
really lost right now.
infraspinatus. You say Terry's.
Terry's minor.
Thank you. Minor.
Minor.
Infraspinatus is tiny. Terry's minor is tiny. They go together. They're tiny. They're adorable. Latissimus dorsi is huge. It goes with Terry's major. It's bigger. It's not huge, but it's bigger. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Good. Miss Monreal. I'm calling on you because, I don't know, because I feel like this is your question. Miss Monreal? I know you have to come from outside, from the she shed, through the field, through the kitchen, into the living room, past the dog, over the goat, down the water slide, get the towel, go over to the coffee table, grab the phone. But once you've done that, Miss Monreal, I have a very important question for you.
I think she keeps getting like cut in and out of it.
She missed my long dissertation about everywhere she goes? Okay. All right. Okay. So, here's the question of the day that I said months and months ago I'd ask you, but I said we weren't ready yet. And for workout buffs, this is kind of a neat question too. So, Mr. Gandaris, I expect you, I feel like you're a workout buff. I can expect you to chime in on this too. What muscle, he's like, what muscles do I use when doing a pull-up? And I mean all of them. Or a pull-down. Pull-up is the same thing as pull-down. Yes, Mr. Gandaris?
Your lats.
Lats. So he said, and I don't mean this like, he said the most obvious one and the one he should have said first. Your latissimus dorsi, the reason you do pull-ups is to work your lats. There's no doubt about that. Latissimus dorsi, lats. Good. Anytime you say latissimus dorsi, what else do you say, sir?
Terry's minor.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. I don't know what I'm going to do right now.
Major.
Thank you. It's big. Say major. All right. Terry's major. Lats are big. Terry's major. Cool. All right. Those two are obvious. Anything else I use? Anybody? Mr. Gandaris, you got another one? What else does it work? What else gets sore when you go do pull-ups in the gym?
Your deltoids,
Which ones?
the medial.
Let me think. Let's see. Does this feel like I'm doing pull-downs? A lot of abduction in your pull-ups? I feel like when I'm pulling up, I'm doing an adduction. But I thought the middle deltoids did an abduction.
The posterior.
Posterior deltoids. Delts. Posterior.
Is it your pectoralis?
Pectoralis, which one?
Major.
Yes, which fibers?
Both. Posterior. No.
There's, by the way, just to give you a quick review, There are upper, middle, and lower fibers, but let's just look at upper and lower. If you look at this, strangely enough, your pec crosses over at your shoulder. This is not a very good representation, but the upper pecs actually help me do what's this action?
Flexion?
Yes. The lower pecs actually let me do a
Extension?
extension. So it's pec major, lower fibers.
Lower fibers, okay.
By the way, I commend all of you for just trying. These are hard questions. Good. So you said pec major. Would the pec minor be involved?
Yes.
It would, everybody. By the way, it's not moving my arm, but what does my scapula want to do right now? It wants to tear off my body. What's pulling my scapula back down to my body? Remember, the scapula's not held on by hardly anything. What's pulling it back down to my body? In front. What attaches to my coracoid process here? Yes, Ms. Cooper.
Is it the serratus anterior?
Serratus anterior and pec minor actually help pull it down. They depress the scapula. So I know they don't make you do the pull-up, but they literally keep your arm from ripping off your body. So pec major, but also pec minor, serratus anterior. By the way, what else depresses my scapula to help me pull my scapula down while I'm doing a pull-up? Yeah, trapezius. Which fibers?
Lower fibers?
Yeah, traps, lower fibers. Good. Good. Do any of my rotator cuff muscles help? Are there any ones in back that would be stretched out here that would actually get pulled back a little bit?
Infraspinatus?
Yep.
Teres minor?
Thank you for putting those together. Infra and teres minor, because it's tiny. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Miss Pilotic.
So this one might be a little bit of a long shot.
No, go for it.
But I was gonna say your rectus abdominis.
Actually, it's a little bit out of the purview here, but there is some truth to it. It actually helps hold your rib cage down when you're doing pull-ups. You're almost thinking too far out of the box. You're almost kind of too advanced an answer. But I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm serious.
Well, because I was thinking, like, when I've seen people do pull-ups at the gym, they're like, keep their tight, like their
They do.
core tight.
Your rib cage actually starts to try to lift off your body, and your rectus abdominis actually pulls it back down. The only reason I'm not including it is then we start to have to include all sorts of stuff. Then you kind of argue, well, my legs are stretching out, and I got to grab those too.
Yeah.
But I love the answer. Let's see. By the way, you guys have been describing this kind of movement. What else happens when I do a pull-up?
Your triceps.
Oh, my triceps? Ms. Torres?
Your bicep?
Biceps. Which one creates a flex? What am I doing right now?
Flexing the elbow.
Flexing my elbow. Which muscles flex my elbow?
Bicep?
Biceps brachii. And what's the one underneath it?
Brachialis.
Thank you. Now, I kind of made that funny look at Miss Torres when she said triceps, but was she possibly a little bit right?
Yes, I'm right because I'm extending.
No, you're not. This is extending. That's not why you're right. It's not why you're right.
Oh, okay. But I'm right? Okay.
You're right because one head of the triceps crosses over to the scapula and actually helps in an extension of the humerus. Actually helps to pull the humerus back down to the scapula. Which head?
So you would only be working that head of the tricep?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What head is that?
The long head.
Yes, thank you. So you actually get triceps long head in here, which people never think about. These are great questions to ask a personal trainer to see if they actually know what they're talking about, the long head. Hey, remember the coracobrachialis? Would that be stretched out here? Would that actually help pull your arm back down a little bit? Are my hands coming closer together? Look at my fingers. Do they get closer together? That means coracobrachialis. I think that's it. By the way, I'm not including all the forearm muscles used to hold onto the bar, which is a lot. Those are the main movers of a pull-up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think it's 14. What is one of the most comprehensive upper body exercises you can do? Thank you, Ms. Giannis. A pull-up. It even works your chest, which most people think of as working their chest with bench. It doesn't work your whole chest, but a pull-up exercises over 14 muscles, by the way. You have to grab on with your forearms. I mean, you could argue that it exercises about 26, but it exercises 14 major muscles in a pull-up. Squats are very similar too, if we talk about squats. Like, how do you get up out of a squat? It's a lot of muscles involved. Nice job. Nice job. All right. That's what we're going to discuss really quick with our final 10 minutes. I'm going to stop sharing. Let's apply this to a squat. I'm going to ask each of you for a muscle. So don't give me 2 because you'll be taking some from somebody else. But let's look at a squat. First, we have to describe the movement that I'm doing. So, not talking about going down, I'm talking about getting up. So, when I get up from a squat, something happens at my knees, something happens at my hips, and believe it or not, something happens at my back. 3 things. Alright? Miss Melodic, what happens at my knees as I come up? What do we call this? It's hard to see, but I'm doing this. Miss Melodic?
Extension?
Extension, thank you. Doing an extension of my knees. Boom. Cool. Miss Cooper, what am I doing at my hip?
Oh, sorry. Wait, do it again? Hold up.
As I come up from a squat, what's my hip actually doing?
Flexing?
That's as I go down for a squat, I'm flexing. What am I doing as I come up from a squat?
Extension.
Thank you. Extension of the knee, extension of the hip, and really what's my back doing? Miss Leeks Osuna, what's my back doing? It's over like this. What's my back doing as I come up from a squat?
An extension?
Yes. Squats require an extension of the knee, the hip, and the back. Cool. Miss Hanson, give me a squat muscle. Just one.
The gluteus maximus.
Thank you. Just like Mr. Kondaris, she probably grabbed the big one, which I want you to do, by the way. Glute max is your powerful hip extender. So that's the glute. I wouldn't include any other glutes, anybody. That's the glute that's probably involved. Cool. All right. So, Miss Harper, what other stuff can extend my hip or extend my knee or extend my spine? Give me another muscle.
It's can extend. It's your hamstring or something.
Hamstrings do extend the hip, don't they? Now she just gave us 3, but we'll take them since she said them. So they extend my hip. That's biceps, femoris, semi, T, and semi-M. Sorry, semi-M. Sorry, cool. Okay. Miss Hunter, can you give me something else that, well, there's actually something else that extends the hip, but it's a tricky one, or something that extends the knee, or something that extends the spine.
You said, so you want me to name something that extends the spine?
Sure. That's a good one, pick.
Oh, I wasn't sure.
Or the knee.
What? You're also working your lats?
Not
I was
really.
gonna say latissimus dorsi.
Not really, because those
That
attach to your arm.
No?
No.
Okay.
This is stuff that extends my spine, or my hip, or my knee.
What about the erector spinae?
All day long. Thank you, ma'am. That's 3. Spinalis, iliocostalis, and longissimus. Yeah, it's one of the reasons they tell you to look up when you're doing squats, by the way. Mr. Kandaris, give me another one. Mr. Kandaris? Sir?
Alright, brushing my teeth, so.
I need something, sir, that extends the hip, extends the knee, extends the spine in a squat.
Vastus lateralis.
Cool. Would that be true of the other vastuses?
Yeah, like all of them, they all get worked when you're doing a squat.
Thank you. Would that be true of the rectus femoris? Would that be true of the rectus femoris, sir?
Yeah, we just watching the hip.
What? It does aid in the flexion of the hip, but we don't flex the hip, we extend the hip in a squat. I extend the knee. Do all 4 quads extend the knee or not?
Yes.
Good. I know I asked for one muscle from each, but we're running out of time, so rec, fem. Okay. Ms. Monreal, do you got anything else? There are some other stuff, but we're getting tricky now. Ms. Monreal? Oh, we lost her again, didn't we? It's killing me. I need my Miss Monreal. All right. Miss Moore? Anything? Anybody? By the way, I don't mean to do that, Miss Moore, but I just realized we're down to very little minutes here, and we're down to really hard stuff here. Is there anything else that might extend a hip? This is the good stuff, by the way. Thank God we got this. This is the big stuff. But is there anything else that would extend the spine? Is there anything else that would extend the knee? Yes, Miss Moore, did you
I wanted to ask if the, like,
What?
I wanted to ask if the quadratus laborum would have anything to do.
Of course it would. It's an abdominal muscle, but it acts just like a back muscle. It's right back there. That's amazing. That's exactly what I was talking about. Thank you. Quad L, quadratus lumborum. That kind of takes care of the back stuff. Although don't forget, by the way, in a squat, do you use your transverse abdominis? Oh my gosh, yes, you will die. You'll literally die if you don't use your transverse abdominis. So we're going to throw that in too, because there's 2 abdominals that really work. Transverse abs. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else? We hit all the major knee extenders, but is there a weird anything else? I can't think of anything else. Well, go ahead.
What about your adductors, like the?
I know. So thank you for mentioning this, by the way. I didn't set this up right. This is my fault. Ms. Torres is 100% correct. Think about it, guys. I know when I do a squat, I don't slide my legs together, but that doesn't mean my adductors aren't trying to pull together. In fact, your adductors are one of the major muscles you get when you work a squat. So, do all my adductors work when I do a squat?
Yes.
Thank you. I saw, you said yes, and I saw a head nod. So, there's adduction going on here too, and it's all 5 of your adductors. They work heavily. That's not like a little side thing. They work heavily. Cool. Yep.
What about your sartorius?
Sartorius does flexion. We're not flexing, we're extending. Yeah.
So it's just when you go. So it's just when you're going up.
Well, no, sartorius when you're going down, right? It's causing you to flex.
That's why. So we're just talking about going the squat up.
Yeah.
The muscles
Well, you
up.
don't really squat. I mean, I understand you squat down, but what brings me down when I squat down? Gravity.
Yeah.
You're right, if I'm trying to pull myself down, I'd use the sartorius, but that's really like a stomach crunch or something.
What about your calves?
No, plantar, well, sorry, I shouldn't lie. You use your calves a lot for stability, absolutely. They don't help you get up in the squat, so to speak, but you need calf muscles, yeah. This is about it. Just remember that even one of your adductors actually helps some hip flexion back there, the adductor magnus. But so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 major muscles. And Miss Torres is right, by the way. You use calves, you use all sorts of stuff. And these aren't tiny muscles. 18 muscles. What is the most comprehensive exercise, arguably, what is the most comprehensive exercise you can do for lower body?
Quads.
Squats.
Quads.
Squats, yes. They actually work your quads. Your hip.
Would the iliotibial band have anything to do with?
It does have to do with knee stability, but not with getting you
Okay,
up. Not,
okay.
Now we're getting nitpicky. That's why I'm sorry. But we're like, yes, it has to
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
No, you're totally
But no, you're not flexing the hip. You're extending the hip. So it doesn't help you do that. Does it tighten up to make sure you don't blow your knees out laterally? Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's, by the way, there's 18 prime movers. There's probably another 37 synergists that help balance you and make sure you don't wobble and make sure and maybe 50 other. It could be something ridiculous. So when I do something like this, we don't realize, when I do something like this, I say, what's moving me? Yes, it's my anterior deltoid, and yes, it's the upper fibers of my pec, but there's all sorts of other muscles making sure that my arm doesn't waver like this. Because if you just pick something up like this, it tends to waver around. So it's got stabilizers holding on to it. Anyway, that's 11 o'clock. That was a very intense, packed day, I thought. I can see by the look in the 3 eyes that are left, 4 eyes, that we should continue this sort of thing. So we will do that. I see your eagerness. I think Ms. Petrie has now decided she loves chapter 21. And thank you, Ms. Stanley. See you too. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll be doing new stuff. I'm going to release the test for this thing for tonight. And good luck with that. And thank you very much. Thank you for